Hello, I'm Noélie Cherrier, a PhD student from CEA in France. This is a joint work with the University of Waikato in New Zealand. So today I will present to you interpretable machine learning with Bytonic generalized additive models and automatic feature construction. So first I will introduce GAMS and then present Bytonicity, so our definition and also evaluation method, and then present the proposed method to enforce Bytonicity into the induction of GAMS. Finally, I will present some experiments that we conducted. So GAMS come from generalized linear models, which are some linear combination of the input variables x1 to xd. However, the predicted output y hat can be reached through a link function g. G of y hat is equals to y hat for a regression task, but it's equal to the log of y hat over 1 minus y hat for a classification task. This leads us to generalized additive models, or GAMS, which are a sum of univariate smooth terms. So instead of having a linear combination of inputs, we have a sum of smooth function f1 to fd of the inputs. And this is still interpretable as a model, machine learning model, because we can look at the curves produced for each shape function fi and interpret each shape function fi of xi independently of the other ones. So from these GAMS, our objectives in this work are to include prior knowledge while encouraging interpretability. So the 2 points that we are tackling in this work are first, which variables are the most discriminative, and second, what shapes can be expected for the functions in the GAM. So now I will talk about Bytonicity, which is our way to include prior knowledge into the GAMS. And first, our motivation to include Bytonicity. Well, as prior knowledge, several works use already a monotonicity assumption between the input variables and the target variable. I've put a few references on the slide. However, in our use case, which is high energy physics, the variables which are the most discriminative in this field often present a global minimum or a global maximum, as displayed on the bottom of the slide. So our variables are not monotonic with respect to the output, but bytonic. We will call that. So now a definition, more formal definition. So a function f will be said to be positively bytonic with respect to a feature d, if and only if for each set of features x m with m different of d, there exists at most one local minimum xd star, therefore will be a global minimum to the univariate function of xd. And respectively, a function f is negatively bytonic with respect to a feature d if there exists at most one local maximum xd star, so a global maximum, to f of xd, all other features being fixed for m different of d. So here are two examples of bytonic functions. So you can notice that the bytonicity definition that we presented also include monotonic functions. For instance, a monotonically decreasing function is both positively bytonic and negatively bytonic. Okay. So now we propose the method to evaluate a bytonicity degree. So in the particular case of an input feature x with respect to a target variable y. So we want to evaluate the relationship between this input variable x and the target y, and especially see if there is a bytonic relationship between the two. So to do that, we will sort y along x, smooth the sorted sequence, because especially in the case of classification, y has only few unique values. And we want to compute the difference between the smooth sorted sequence and a closed bytonic approximation. In our case, we will use the cumulative minimum and maximum to approximate the sequence. So when the sequence is decreasing, it's equal to its cumulative minimum. On the contrary, when it's increasing, it's equal to its cumulative maximum. So we'll use this property to find the closest bytonic approximation. On the example on the bottom, you have the smooth sorted feature as a yellow curve, As dotted blue, you have the close Bytonic approximation, and the red vertical line displays the global minimum found by the algorithm. This other example, on this other example, with the same colors and labels, you see that the Bytonic approximation in dotted blue is further away from the yellow curve, so the non-Bytonicity degree will be higher. So it's actually a non-Bytonicity degree that we compute. The closest it is to 0, the higher the Bytonicity relationship between the feature and the output value vector. So now that we presented Bytonicity, we propose a method to enforce it into GAM as a prior knowledge. So first in shape functions themselves. So shape functions in GAMs can take the form of splines or of boosted decision trees. If we look at the shape functions themselves, a specific example, we see that the splines are usually smoother than boosted decision trees. And so we decide not to use boosted decision trees. We also add in our experiments neural networks as shape function because it's also quite smooth and easy to implement. And we will exploit the regularization of these functions to enforce Bytonicity. So for instance, with splines are a weighted sum of basis functions beta k, and so the weights beta k are learned to fit the term of the GAM by minimizing the sum of a cost function plus lambda times a penalization term of the weights beta. So this lambda is the weight that we will play with in order to enforce Bytonicity. For neural network, it's quite similar because to learn a neural network, to train a neural network, we minimize a loss function plus lambda times a regularization term of the weights w. So intuitively, if we increase this lambda, we will get closer to a very smooth function, and at one point it will become Bytonic. So we tested this assumption on a toy dataset for both splines on the left and neural network on the right. And we see that so the F1 score is displayed in blue and the non-Bytonicity degree is displayed in green. And we can see that both for the splines and for the neural network, the Bytonicity falls to 0 after a certain threshold lambda. However, the F1 score decreases as well, and even drops completely for the neural network. So we can define the lambda threshold over which the Bytonicity is always 0. So it's the minimal lambda for which the Bytonicity is 0, and it's this lambda that we will choose to enforce Bytonicity in the shape functions without harming too much at the F1 score, we hope. Secondly, so we enforce Bytonicity in the shape functions, now we want to enforce it in the features themselves, because the GAM do not build complex internal representations of the data, on the contrary to neural networks, for instance. So we want to use feature construction, so I will summarize here quickly the principle. So you start from base variables on the left of the slide, and you want to build discriminative and high-level features which are still interpretable by experts. Some examples are displayed on the right. We use a constrained genetic programming algorithm, which comes from our previous work. The principle is to evolve a population of high-level feature candidates, such as the one displayed below, where the nodes are mathematical operators and the leaves are base variables. So we evolve a population of candidates such as this one, and at each generation we select the best one using a fitness function. And the fitness function for our genetic programming algorithm in the particular context of GAMs will be, first, the RMS error of a shallow decision tree with respect to the residuals of the GAM. I will explain what are these residuals just after. Plus the non-Bytonicity degree of the candidate feature with respect to these residuals. So we also penalize, in addition to the the feature being discriminative, we also penalize the non-Bytonicity of this feature with respect to the output. So we force the feature to be Bytonic itself. So the overall model now. We train a GAM via the gradient boosting to minimize the cross entropy. At each step of the boosting, we build one feature using the feature construction algorithm with respect to the residuals, which are the true target value y minus the predicted target value y hat. We fit a shape functions to the newly built features with respect to the residuals. We compute the new residuals. At steps 1 and 2, Bytonicity may or not be enforced. So we consider 4 variants for the experiments. The first one is called FCGAM none. FCGAM stands for Feature Construction GAM. And so in this variant, Bytonicity is not enforced either in feature construction nor in shape functions. The second variant, FCGAM Bmax, Bytonicity is not enforced in feature construction, but enforced in shape functions only if the Bytonicity degree of the feature that have been built is below a threshold Bmax. Third, FCGAM all builds a feature without Bytonicity constraint, but enforces Bytonicity in the shape functions all the time. And finally, Bytonic FCGAM enforces Bytonicity both in feature construction and in shape functions. So now that we have our 4 variants, I can present to you experiments. So we set the parameter Bmax to 0.04. We conducted experiments to determine this parameter in the paper. And we consider 3 datasets from high energy physics. The 3 of them are binary classification tasks. And we compute the F1 score over 10 independent runs for each of 5 folds. And so I've put 3 baselines on the top of the table, and we can see the results for the 4 variants, both for splines and for the neural networks as shape function. And we see that both for that DVCS dataset and the MAGIC dataset, the performances are not harmed by enforcing Bytonicity, at least not significantly. However, for the Higgs dataset, the performances decreases when we are enforcing Bytonicity, and especially when we are forcing the built features to be themselves Bytonic. So I will discuss finally a bit about interpretability. So first a slide displaying the evolution of the F1 score as a function of the number of GAM terms, so which is also the number of iterations in the gradient boosting to train the GAM. And so this slide is just to discuss about the relationship between interpretability and the size of the model. Of course, interpretability decreases with an increasing number of terms, so it's a trade-off to make between the number of terms and the required level of interpretability. However, for MAGIC, the MAGIC dataset, for instance, after only a few terms, like 4 or 5 maximum, it's already a very good score, so we can stop there, and we have already the maximal score with only a few terms. I will show you 2 examples of Bytonic terms now. One for the DVCS dataset. So here is a feature that I will consider. I won't detail why this feature is still interpretable to experts, but this is a discussion that has been conducted in the paper. So on the left we have the output probability from the data, so directly computing the y as function of the feature. In the middle we have the non-Bytonic terms, so the terms that have been automatically fitted to the data, and on the right the same term but with a Bytonic constraint. So in this case, these oscillations here on the non-Bytonic term they come from overfitting. So in this case, Bytonicity permits to regularize the shape function, and this Bytonic term is also more consistent with expert knowledge. The second feature here is on the Higgs dataset, which has less performance than the other 2 datasets. And so the same plots show that this feature is not Bytonic, so it's counterproductive to force the shape function to be Bytonic. So Bytonicity in this case impairs performance. This particular case can be solved either by a better feature construction, although we saw that the Bytonic FC-GAM had a worse performance than the other versions of the DFC-GAM algorithm, or by allowing more functions to fit the same feature, although it impairs interpretability in this case. So as a conclusion, we introduced a new form of prior knowledge, which we called Bytonicity. We proposed a definition and also an evaluation method. We incorporated this new constraint in the induction of GAMs, so in the features themselves and also in shape functions. And for compliant datasets, it's increasing interpretability without harming performance. However, we discussed the suitability of the datasets with respect to the Bytonicity constraints in the paper, so to be continued. And this work is also extendable to GAM with bivariate terms, so GI2M, which is a recent paper from Lu et al. In 2013. Thank you for your attention, and here are a few references.